A very warm welcome to everyone. So this is the next session of I'm already very initially I have discussed with you that I'm going to discuss in the first 2 weeks regarding the community, and then second part of my whole session would be around the primary method of community social work, that is about the community work, and then further into community organization, community development, and then social action. So this is what I'm going to start from today, the second set of our whole this paper, and then this what we have talked about earlier. Okay, so this is what the content of today's lecture, that is community for community work, the changing nature of community, understanding community work, definition, component, and nature. So first we have to discuss about what is this community. So started with some definition, as Beckley and Nicotera has asserts that community engagement is essential for effective practice, highlighting how social workers must navigate, like utilize community resources to facilitate positive changes. So it's very important that we have already discussed in the last 2 weeks that regarding the community, to understanding the community. So by understanding this, workers must navigate and utilize community resources to facilitate positive change. So after this, this definition, you can understand that identifying the community resources is fundamental aspect of while working with the community. So until you don't understand the community, you cannot understand the resources available there. See, resources doesn't mean only the kind of physical resources available. It's also about the social resources. It's about the human resources as well. Okay. Leon has emphasized the interconnectedness of individuals within communities, arguing that social practice must consider these relationships to be effective. So here, Leon has suggested that social worker, in the case worker community worker must take interdependence or networking of the community as an important tool for the intervention to the community. So identifying the community resources, using the interconnectedness and network of the community, and then Netning and Kettner and McMurthy has defined that community as a critical framework, arguing that understanding a social fabric of communities can lead to a more impactful intervention of policy advocacy. So if you actually evaluate and understanding all this, so a vital framework has been developed for the social practices, like shaping interventions that are holistic, empowering, and culturally component. The collective insights of the scholars underscore this actually what is there talked about, that community engagement to address social issues effectively, highlighting the meaningful social work is inherently focused on very three important things, as if you look into these definitions. One is the community resources, second is about interconnectedness, or you can say as like that is what social networking of that community. Next is about this third definitions talk about the social fabric, that may be about the power structure that we have already discussed, the social structure of the community. So social fabric, who are included, who are excluded, everything, the leadership of the community. So these all comes. The postmodernist social work theories such as Pardek, Murphy, and Cayo asserts that social work practice should be community-based, where community is not defined in racial, ethnic, and demographic or geographic terms, as is often done. Instead, a community is a domain where certain assumptions about reality are acknowledged to have validity. Social work practice is about using the community and using naturally occurring and socially constructed networks within the social environments to provide social support. So this is what actually here the communities are always is taken as is always the context, if not always the content of social work practice. For social workers to be very effective, need to understand the community affects the lives, how it affects the lives of the people, the importance of community calls for a community based social worker. So this assertion can be into break up into community based practice, validity of assumptions, and then using social networks that we have already discussed into last three definition. So community based practice, that is definitely once you work with the community, you have to work with the kind of the practice should be community based. It's not that you have developed a program and go and just ask them to community to adopt that program. So it has to be community based, culturally context on the basis of the culturally oriented for that community. Validity of assumptions. you may go with some communities with some kind of assumption that may be true, may not be true, right? So you have to validate whether whatever the kind of assumption you have, whether that is true for that community or not, because maybe you are going to work with number of the community, number of variety of the community. So maybe you working in one community, or getting information, getting experience of one community may cannot be applied to another country. Some aspects you could be, but cultural aspect and then assumption you cannot apply there, right? Because every community is characteristic and the needs, as we have already discussed so far regarding all this aspect, you could very easily understand that every community is different. So always go in community with the kind of the tabula rasa, that you should not go with any kind of the preconceived notion regarding the community, but definitely you go with full information of that community, having all the primary data or secondary data. If you have, you could collect, you have to be in your hands. Then you go in a community, you collect the primary data, you can intervene into the community, and you try to understand that community that time. So that is what the validity of assumptions. Utilizing social networks. So first thing is to understand the and identify the social networks available in the community, and then use that social network to facilitate to the community and for the community to reduce the problems and to get the goals for the community. The changing nature of the community. So this is what we have already discussed in the last 2 weeks, but here just to remember, as you now we are talking about particularly about the professional intervention of the for the community work. So here I just have to remind you the changing nature of the community. It could be more, but here I just come with the only 3 and 4 kind of the kind of the changes which has been very much obvious in our community, in our society in a larger term. So migration and urbanization. So communities have changed as a result of larger scale migration from rural to urban because of many push and pull factors, maybe industrialization of the urban and then lack of resources available in the rural areas that resulted into the migration from rural to urban areas. That next is about, and so for that reason that resulted into a new kind of the community has been evolved. Even in the rural, if you look into that, where the maximum youth has been migrated and then left behind, parents is living in different aspects, and even in the urban areas where the people are coming from the distinct areas, from the diverse ethnicity and diverse culture, so they are coming together and then do a culture and assimilate with another culture, and they develop a new kind, a new set of the their identity. Even the slum culture which has been developed in the urban areas or in the metropolitan city, that gives resulted into many positive as well as somehow somewhere the negative aspect of the community. But this is what my point is, not about the, I'm talking about that slums are bad, but my talking about this whole process is bad, as like in this migration is, who migrated, you just feel the plight of those because that is what the forced kind of the migration, because of they are not having the resources available in that community, because of that reason they are leaving their community out of their own will. Someone maybe because of their will they migrate, that's okay, but majority of the time, because I work with the migrant community, I have seen that many of them are actually they have that kind of the pain that they have migrated from their from their areas. They still remember their own areas, their own cultures and everything. Cultural and economic changes, how the society has been evolved, right? Because maybe because of the globalization and technological advancement, and the society has been changed so much, and the traditional values of somehow somewhere has also been changed. So we have to equipped with this kind of the changes, and we have to understand these changes, and right, so then we can be easily to understand, because earlier we have talked about that validity of assumption. So that's why we have to discuss about these all, that we have to validate the assumptions. So whatever the earlier assumptions may not be applicable to the new set of the community, right? Increasing diverse communities in urban areas. People from many areas, language and cultures have come together because of many push and pull factors, particularly in urban areas that I have already discussed. So diverse communities you will find, maybe many societies have been developed in the urban areas of societies, means the building societies and all. So people not living in the horizontal aspect, but they're living in the vertical way. Vertical mohalla is there, so somehow again new kind of a changing style of the community. So people are living vertical, then more than horizontal, which were earlier aspect, or in the rural areas you find the horizontal expansion of the community, but in urban areas. So these societies again having a living into coming into from the very diverse culture, they were living together. So that's why the society has been formed to look after the many demands and requirements of everyday life and all. So again, this is what the idea of we feeling, developing the we feeling, interaction and all, having experience. That's why these societies have organized some kind of the activities, and it has been always been suggested to organize some kind of activities. And this kind of the activities is actually been very much promoted in the Western countries, where the people are coming from the very different ethnicity, even from the different nationality, once they're living together. So to develop the kind of interdependence, acculturation, assimilation, number of the informal activities or cultural activities or kind of the things has been organized just to being absorbed, being comfortable in that community. And this is what the many a time the many agencies has been involved into this very formally. So this could be your one of the area of in future that you could be working on those areas. There are a lot demands in the Western countries, right? So maybe in coming days in our own countries, this is going to be one of the very important area of intervention. Okay, next is about rising individualism and declining social capital. Rising individualism and declining social capital, again a very important and you could say the crucial aspect and then problem in the present day world. So where the community is actually lacking this all mutual connection. If I present once I usually visit the hostels here in my university, so I remembered my days where we are actually was so much into interacting with each other. Today I'm not, this is again a phenomena that every culture believes that their culture were better than the new generation. So I'm not talking about that, or maybe that influenced into my my somewhere in my unconscious mind. But my point is that now I see that in every students are busy with their own individual friends group, that is very virtual friends, not the physical friends that is around their own and around their roommates and all. So in everywhere, I'm not talking about only about the AMU, it's a general phenomena everywhere in every university. So where like earlier the hostels life was so much into the interaction and then all the kind of the funs and all, because we didn't have much time to we have a lot of a time to spend together. As today's generation, they don't have the time to spend together because they are all busy in their virtual world, virtual friends, virtual communities. That's okay for some points. I'm not negating it 100% because I'm also into this kind of the new world order. But my point is that we are lacking actually social capital, and that is kind of problem is coming into coming generation. That is what the America has already witnessed, and very beautiful. You must study a book called Bowling Alone. So there talks about that how the countries like America and many other countries have actually facing this kind of the individualism over collectivism, right? Everyone became so self-centered, talking about they themselves, me, I. So this is what the lacking of the social capital. So again, this is what the new kind of the aspects in the modern day world. Now coming to the understanding community work. So the community work was very first time coined by the Gulbenkian Foundation, founded in 1968. Although the actual it has been used not as a word, but it has been applied after just after World War I. That idea of the community work has been emerged. So community work is organized method to encouraging people in a community to use their own resources and social structures to solve issues and accomplish. So in a community work, the first thing, 1, 2, 3 things are very important. One thing is that the identifying the problem by the community itself, identifying the resources of the community itself, or maybe the resources which could be from outside is a part of that community also, but that can be facilitated. So identification of the resources, then working on those resources to get the common goals. What I mean, that common goal may be the eradicating certain problem or for development of certain aspects of the community. So this is what, right? So community work is essentially in promoting empowerment and social change because it involves overall well-being. This practice includes a variety of initiatives for rural development in India, as well as the advocacy of social justice and inclusion, all aimed at addressing the particular demands and difficulties that communities experiences. Community workers foster relationship, increase capacities, and enable engagement among community people by utilizing a variety of techniques and tools and multidisciplinary, expertise. Even sometimes you need some kind of the psychological aspect to support, a psychologist to support here there, or to work on some health aspects of the community. You can take the always you may facilitate some kind of those expertise for the to resolving certain issues of the community. So the key to community work is its capacity to mobilize local resources and foster self-sufficiency of the community, turning communities became agents of their own development. Then they could identify that the kind of the empowerment will come into that community. That is what community helping them to help themselves. This is what we usually call as a mantra of social work, to helping self, to helping, you have to help yourself for future sustenance. Moving ahead, if you're looking to the definitions of community work, so very first definition by Peter Baldock, that community work involves helping people identify problem and opportunities, make decisions and take collective actions to address these problem and opportunities. So if you look into whole definition, so finally breakups of these definitions, like, or the major thrust areas of this definition is about identity problems and opportunities, make decisions by the community members, take collective actions, because again this is very important for a social worker or the community worker to promote that the community members should come forward and they take the action, and that action should be participative and collective in nature, that everyone has to be included into that. Supportive role of the community worker, here you have to perform as a supportive role to enabler role, that you have to look into that how that community is enable enough or capable enough to doing all such activities. According to the Kerner, community intervention lead to the creation or modification of policy, programs, or the initiation of new projects. So this, looking into this, is more about a kind of the revolutionary or whole structural change aspect, where you are talking about this definition, talking about modification of certain policies if it is required for the and then if it a new kind of the programs or modification of the programs or the policy depending upon the situation of the community. This is also one important aspect of the community work. So creation and modification of policy, development of programs, and then initiation of new projects is the part and parcel of this definition. So just moving ahead to others definitions. So it's about, this definition talks about that community work involves working with people in voluntary community groups and to address shared needs and problems, promoting change and enabling individuals to achieve a greater control over their lives. It prioritizes the powerless, disadvantaged and oppressed, aiming to develop skills, knowledge, experiencing and awareness. So whoever at the bottom, you have to bring them to up. It's again, as per this definition, is the major goal of the community worker. So working with voluntary community groups, maybe the CBOs, that is a community based organization there, or any kind of the NGOs are working there, or even the formal governmental organizations which is working over there. So you have to work with those organizations, addressing shared needs and problems. So whatever the needs which is the common to all, you have to identify. Promoting change, you try to develop some kind of the strategies so that you can promote the changes in the community, enabling individuals to gain greater control. So you should not be leading to that, but you have to lead, but it should not be very obvious that it has to be like that community members, they themselves actually controlling everything. So prioritizing the powerless, disadvantaged and oppressed. Again, in the last few sessions we have discussed about this, that you have to be very careful about that who is actually left out. So you have to bring those left out into that whole process of development, maybe on the basis of the caste, class or minority aspect, so or gender aspect. So you have to bring and prioritize these parts. Then any kind of the development is considered to be the actual development. So look into the power structure of that community. Developing skills, knowledge and experiences and awareness. So the final target of this should be developing this skills among the community, by giving knowledge to the community, particularly for that whatever reasons you are there. Maybe at the same time you cannot make them educate and aware about health and then environment and everything. So it should be a sectoral aspect, that one section you have to pick and then you have to engage the community into that. If you look into the another is also required, you have to be, otherwise jumping into everything has become very problematic. Holistic approach somehow is different, because you have to see the problem and then that problem is because of the number of the other problem. So you have to resolve this problem by intervening and to looking to all those problems. That is what another thing. But here my point is here, just not to miss club these two. So here my point is that not jumping from one aspect, one issue to another issue. Just prioritize the needs, prioritize the problem, which is the first priority, first requirement of the community. You just to work into that, and then it goes to, and second, and maybe if you have the chance, if you have the resources, you can work for the third. So don't jump into every aspects, every issue at the same time, because it is a very practical problem. I am just that's why it just come in your mind to discuss with you all. But when you are in community now, every time that community members think that you are going to change the whole community at a certain right, and you have everything, you are just a kind of magician, they do believe that. So you have to go and you have to make it very clear. Okay, listen to them, prioritize the needs, prioritize the which one has to take in the first. And then because every time the community member is talking about this, and then they are problematic this and this problem, so you have to be very much confused, because you are there with some projects definitely, or maybe voluntarily you are going for your community. So just be very creative enough, go with all kind of the planning, listen to the committee, don't indulge into that kind of the confusion, be very clear to your priorities and all. So I hope you understand my this practical demands of the while working with the community. So as again coming to the Gulbenkian Foundation 1968, who talks about the community work very very practical manner, constructive manner. Not only just they have given some statements, they actually started working into that. And so Gulbenkian Foundation's ideas of intervention still we can follow as a model for intervention in the community, right? So community work for them is like typically involves working with local peoples who want to do something that concerns them. It can also involve aligning the activities of social agencies more closely with community need. So if you come into this whole statement, so it's about the engagement with local people and coordination with social agencies. So community members at one point, and second is about the facilitating and coordinating the social agencies. If it is there, if it is not there, you have to identify, you have to develop some kind of agency which is useful for the development community, which is what the suggestion as per the Gulbenkian Foundation. But they actually have shown it, and they have actually bring into practical way. Right. So next, moving ahead, thus Gulbenkian Foundation saw the community work as consisting of the three interrelated aspects of the activity. What this Gulbenkian Foundation is actually is about is a private philanthropic institution in Portugal by will of Klaus Gulbenkian. He was a very wealthy Armenian businessman or art collector actually. The foundation is also known for its diverse activities promoting cultural, educational, social, and then scientific development in the community. So what we are doing, or we are actually observing and experiencing the CSR aspect, the corporate social responsibility, the big business companies or the governmental companies, you could say that, like BHEL and then Power Grid and all. So they are doing very good, and they are doing CSR activities. They are actually trying to build goodness in the community, bring goodness in the community. So, so this is what the years back or decades back, the Gulbenkian Foundation's idea. So together, these aspects of community work, providing a holistic, approach to improving the well-being of communities through participation, organizing, and long-term planning. So here's a detailed, explanation of all these three: community development, community organization, and social planning. Let's discuss one by one what they have done into each aspects. So community development is as per the Gulbenkian Foundation, what they did. So focus on social and economic changes within a community. Within the community development, they encourages local residents to take leadership role. So very modern idea which we talked about today. So they have already done this all, conducted this all in the community. Build social capital and strengthen networks within a community. They very easily identified this whole aspect. Although the social work has been started years back, and they have actually included this community work as one important methods of the community, but it's actually got recognized very later. And if you talk about the Indian context, we are mainly in primarily social workers doing mainly a good number of the social workers are involved in the community work only. Okay, often addresses issues like unemployment, education, and housing and public health. Still today, these are the some issues. From Indian perspective, I take that unemployment is one issue, education is another issue, housing is issue, and public health. Right. So these are the community developmental aspect. What the this as committee or the commission has taken into consideration. Next is about foundation. Next is about community organization. So community organization is improved to sanitation, waste management, local villages, urban slums by engaging various stakeholders such as local authorities, what they did with the residents, schools, and whatever the agencies available there. So what this Gulbenkian Foundation has done with works towards collective problem solving, facilitate dialogues and cooperation among various community groups, focuses on advocacy and may involve working with local government agencies, that what they have done in the earlier points, often use tactics like organizing, protest, campaign, or public meeting. If you look into this, this is later on we will going to discuss about the social action. So these are important steps for social action. So that's what the social action is also one element, subsystem of the community work. So that's what the community organization as per the Gulbenkian Foundation has suggested. Okay, next is about the social planning, what their third aspect. So under social planning refers to an organized and systematic process of addressing community needs by developing and implementing policies. So use data analysis to create strategies for improving community services. If whatever is there, so just analyze the present policies or program is okay or not. If it is not, what kind of the modification is required, and often driven by local government or social services agencies. It could be done by the local level, or it could be goes up to the higher level. Focuses on long-term goals like infrastructure, healthcare, education, housing. So these are always considered to be the long-term goals of any community. Now, next is as per the Gulbenkian Foundation, the missions to improve quality of life through cultural, scientific, and educational and social programs. It supports activities that strengthen civil society and improve. So, emphasis on vulnerable population. They have actually emphasized on the vulnerable population, social innovation and advocacy, building organizational capacity, educational empowerment programs, resources and funding, and collaboration. So, community work is seen as a means giving life to local democracy, as the one statement by the Gulbenkian Foundation, that community work is seen as a means giving life to local democracy. So, building organizational capacity, education and empowerment programs, resources and funding, collaboration, and emphasis on vulnerable population means who are not included into the many sphere of the development, social innovation and advocacy. That finally culminated into as bringing local democracy into action. Okay, moving ahead, components. If you look into the components of the community work, so here according to H.Y. Siddiqui, there are 5 components of community work. The community, the term, definitely until once you talk about the community work, the very first component is about the community. So here, as H.Y. Siddiqui has talked about the community as the term designated a group of people inside a predetermined geographical area. However, the complex range of social life situations seen in modern cultural villages, towns, cities, and metropolitan areas affects the character of any community. The groups within that bigger community, maybe the youth group, the self-help groups, or particular any groups around the caste and all. So that is what the groups within a community. The individuals believing in the inherent worth and dignity. Definitely every community is the very prime and basic unit of any community is the individual. So you cannot whatever it's about the macro change through community, you are going to change at the macro level, that is going to impact it at a micro level, or whatever the problem at the macro level, you have to start to analyze from the micro level, that is individual. So that's why individual is the very integral part of any community work. So it's important component. The social worker. So social worker here means a community worker, any volunteer from the NSS, anyone from any community, any subject or any fields. So here as a important fourth component, because you are there as a facilitator, as an enabler, as a change agent. So you are very important. So until you are not been there, you cannot talk about the community work. Next is about the agency. Definitely, sometimes you go for a community change as a voluntary purpose. So you cannot bring lot of the changes there, and which is for the longer period. Maybe you go in a community, you started teaching there. So that's a wonderful voluntary action from by you for to develop any communities. So wonderfully you can do that. But if you are could be supported by any agency, if you are going by with the help of some organization, maybe governmental or non-governmental, definitely you will have more resources to go in a community, or you will be more confident enough to working in the community. So that is what the agency is important here as an important component. If you're talking about the professional case work, professional community work. Okay. So this is all about my today's lecture. So the rest part of this idea of the community work, its nature, and then objectives and all, we are going to discuss in the next session. Thank you so much.